This is a presentation on cloud services by Todd Anderson. With the rise of cloud computing in recent years, there is definitely a lot going on in this field. Some major companies are beginning to offer services to their version of the cloud. Companies such as Amazon with their own Amazon Web Services and Microsoft with its own version named Azure. Many companies are beginning to move their infrastructure over to the cloud, companies such as GE or General Electric, Expedia, and many more. Before we begin digging a bit deeper into the topic of cloud computing, let's first have a look at what cloud computing itself is and why so many people are interested. What is cloud computing? Many of us in college know very well about Google Drive. This is one very relatable example of a cloud service that is commonly used by many people, and perhaps even every day. As mentioned on the Azure site, cloud computing is when you access computing services like servers, storage, networking, software over the internet or the cloud from a provider. For example, instead of storing personal documents and photos on your personal computer's hard drive, most people now store them online. And so, as we mentioned before in the Google Drive example, that is one way to access or use the cloud, is storage. But there is more than just being able to store data on the cloud. It can provide, potentially an ever-growing number of features to users such as you and I. And these features we'll discuss more in the next slide. Cloud services are used in three different ways primarily. First is software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. And as you can see from this picture, the areas of technology that must be managed by a company or individual are varying in different ways. However, as we move to cloud services and we rely on them, essentially we are paying the service to manage parts of this IT needs. That way you or your company are able to then focus on your product and what you're trying to do in the company rather than having to worry about the core infrastructure, your needs, how are we supposed to store this data, and how do we upgrade it, etc., which can be a big problem and a big cause for unnecessary expenses when we could just move to the cloud. Some benefits of the cloud. These can include things such as the idea that it is relatively inexpensive to purchase space in the cloud and to utilize their services. A lot of companies will have a plan where you pay as you go, so unnecessary tools, etc. that you don't need or want, you won't have to essentially pay for those at all. You'll just have to pay for exactly what you are using and however many of the resources you are taking from them. Other benefits include the idea that there are many services out and about, and that these services will just get more in depth and more varied as time goes on as well. And there's also the ability to scale up or down easily. There is good security, and data will be backed up on the cloud in multiple servers, so your information will be safe and protected. As the idea of utilizing the cloud grows, it allows for more work to be done in the right areas, while the cloud manages the rest.